He said he's getting better. So, moving on to item 2, the consent agenda. We have numerous items on the consent agenda tonight. I'll quickly read them into the record. Item A, consideration possible action, approval of minutes and excused absence. Item B, consideration possible action, preliminary plat of Creek Bend. Item C, consideration possible action, final plat, Promenade Shops Drive Street dedication. Item D, consideration possible action, final plat of Savannah Parkway and Reserve. Item E, consideration possible action, final plat of Shadow Creek Grove, Section 7. Any commissioners wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Mary Starr. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. None opposed, motion passes. Moving on to item 3, new business. Letter A, consideration of possible action variance from minimum lot width to allow platting of a flag lot. This is a request of Kathy Fontenot, Survey 1 Incorporated, applicant on behalf of Fair Opportunity LP owner for approval of a variance permitted in section 2.6.1.1B1 of the Unified Development Code ordinance number 2000-T to allow approval of the creation of a flag lot within the CMU Cullen mixed-use district on approximately 3.19 acres of land. The general location is 2027 Cullen Parkway. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Staff have a presentation.
Vince Husted, city staff. This property is located at 2207 Cullen Parkway, and I will bring it up on the map here. Now, it is located across the street from the Dawson High School. It's located on the west side of Cullen Parkway. This property, staff or the applicant is requesting the creation of a flag lot on what is a non-residential property. The UDC states that the Planning and Zoning Commission would have to approve the creation of any flag lot. However, in this instance, since the UDC, it requires that flag lots in non-residential and mixed-use zoning districts shall be permitted upon approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission, provided that such lots shall have a minimum frontage of 50 feet. Staff is unable to recommend approval of this flag lot since the proposed width is only 35 feet. That concludes my presentation.
Questions or comments, David? Is the applicant here? Do you wish to say anything? You don't have to. You don't have to.
As of right now, the
Come on, if you don't mind, come up there.
Hopefully you can hear me from way back there. I'm Kathy Font, I'm with Survey 1. As of right now, as from my understanding is this is zoned as single-family residential use. The client is wanting to subdivide the property into 2 separate lots. Both of them are going to be large acreage lots. I I do have a little picture of what it would kind of look like, if y'all want to see it. I can show it to you. The property along the back where the house is, the 35-foot strip of land is gonna be going along the northern part of the boundary to that back lot where the house is. The house was built in 2001, I believe. And there will be a turnaround for any kind of personal vehicles, any kind of emergency vehicles, should they be needed.
Okay. I appreciate it. We may have some questions.
Okay,
But thank you for,
okay.
I have a question for staff. On page 48 of our package, where it talks about staff report, which is right after this one, it talks about a request from LJA, 63 single-family lots, 18.9, that's not the correct property. Correct? And this is, we're just splitting this into two different lots.
Let's see,
It's 480103. Okay.
let's see, this property is located at 2207 Colin Parkway.
That's not
So
the same one.
can you, wait, can you?
Let me put up the zoning map.
Well-
Colin Mixed Use Zoning District.
So the packet we have doesn't match up with.
Right. So can you just back up your presentation a little bit so we can read through what the site history and
Sure.
all, like, what would normally be in the packet?
Let's see. Let's see, here's the request.
Can you go to the next page?
Sure. Here's a summary.
the packet, the packet has the wrong information.
Staff report.
Has the wrong staff report in front.
It talks about 66 lots being lived on the property.
It appears as though the staff report is for Shadow Grove, which was the item in front of that.
This one in here.
Shadow Grove, section 7, which was on the consented, I think it was the last item on the consent.
Yeah.
So is this just mixed up in the PDF? Where's the right sheet?
Probably so.
Are both properties going to be residential? Is that what the proposed is? You're going too fast.
Let's see. I was,
Killing me.
Proposed tonight is for a variance to allow a flag lot on the
With the
property.
property?
So they're applying for a variance first before they come and actually apply for it to be subdivided, because it doesn't meet the minimum criteria for a lot width.
Right.
So this one, in a sense, it's a residential property. They want to divide it to a front and a back. And then in the back, have a flag.
Yeah,
coming to the front.
and the back has the existing house.
Okay,
Okay, so the front width is going to be narrower than the PVC.
right.
What is the purpose for the, I mean, if, for the 50-foot width? I mean, it's, I know it's for non-residential. I kind of understand when you have bigger commercial type properties, stuff like that, but I mean, is it a house right now, or is it a business right now?
It's a house right now, and it will, they're not gonna be doing anything different to the house. Honestly, I don't know what they're try and do a commercial of some sort. That's what the plan is right now, but
Okay, I'll weigh in with my opinion. If if the want is for 2 residential lots, I don't have an issue with 2 residential lots. If the want is to split for commercial purposes with the residents behind that, the original intent for that lot was residential, that's why there was a home built on it. I would be opposed to that use.
I think what I want to know is that portion.
We're calling this commercial.
But it's just my mind, it sounds like if we have residents in the back, it might be commercial business up front.
Well, even, or what they did with the house just north of them is they turned that into a law office. And it's a law office.
And that property is much larger.
Right.
Well, that's not a residential property just north of it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Would you like to see the remaining criteria?
So the current zoning, commercial
Current-
mixed,
Current zoning is called mixed use, and what we have to look at is if the house is currently residential, will it stay that way? And if it gets approved with a 35-foot wide flagpole lot, and then it converts to a non-residential use in the future, we'd have a non-residential flag lot that would be less than 50 feet wide.
You would need 50 feet for the flagpole for commercial property. That's just the city's general standard. It has to be a private street
so let me ask
or
a
built
question
to
about
public standards.
that, sorry. Commercial use, so a house converted to a law office would require
A rezone,
a rezone.
yes. If it's currently residential and it wants to become a law office, it would have to be rezoned.
So this is one of the questions I've got, because if you own a house and you run a personal business out of the house and you don't hang a shingle on the front that says a business type, then that's totally okay to do within the city. As long as you, under certain parameters, you can do that out of your personal residence. The home next door was converted to a law office. That property met all the requirements of commercial. So we're granting a variance here for 25 feet, basically, that would be required otherwise, and then that would reduce the other lot to 125 wide, plus or minus a foot or 2.
Yes, sir.
Would leave that at 125 by 455. If I get asked the applicant, why 25 feet?
it's
Why
gonna
not
be,
50?
it's gonna be 35 feet. We're requesting for 35 feet.
So the drawing in the package is wrong?
Yeah, I believe so. If it says 25 feet, then yes. This one has 35.
And if the number was 50 feet, this wouldn't be an issue.
Correct. If the commission's concern is that the staff report had the prior agenda item on it and you need additional information with the neighboring uses, staff would recommend that you postpone it, allow staff to provide additional information that you need in order to make a necessary determination in conformance with the criteria established that was
I'm a little concerned about that we didn't have the information in the right order, but the main concern I have is the drawing we have is for 25 feet. That's what the drawing in the packet shows. Is that not the correct drawing?
It will look like that, but it's supposed to be 35 feet wide instead of
Okay.
25 feet.
Well, I'm leaning toward postponing, and I really don't like the idea of, it's 50 feet for a reason. I believe there's a lot of reasons for that to be 50 feet, especially when you're talking about converting this all to commercial property. Fire, EMS, everybody's access, I'm sure everybody would weigh into that. If we were at 48 feet and we're real close to 50, I would be more willing, this is my opinion, to say yes. But even at 35, I'm iffy about this, but I would be willing to postpone and let staff and the applicant talk a little more about this and get it back to us.
Is that a motion, Commissioner Council?
Not yet.
Amending law at the bottom block.
It's a
Yeah, I have some
non-residential.
slides with pictures of the property, if that helps.
It's only 2
Currently, there's a home on it. If,
350.
No, but he's talking about this one.
The current zoning is colon mixed use.
It's not really a lot.
And the requirement for mixed use is, it has to be at least 50, the minimum 50 feet, correct?
The UDC states that non-residential properties would have to have a minimum of 50-foot width in the flagpole or flag lot. And that's for all non-residential properties regardless of the zoning district.
So Daniel, I don't know if you're thinking about making a motion to postpone it or to vote on it, but I wouldn't approve it. Yeah.
okay, let's clarify that with staff. Is the current, the way it reads, 25 feet or 35 feet?
Should be 35 feet.
I make a motion to postpone.
Second.
I have a motion and Thomas's second. All those in favor of postponing to the next regular P and Z meeting on the calendar? All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Our motion is postponed. Sorry, when those things come up and I'd much rather postpone it and come back and have everything in a row where we can approve it or deny it and be clear. I believe we're on item B, consideration possible action replat of Lock Ridge subdivision. This is a request of Christian Offenberger of Boundary One Survey, the applicant, on behalf of Ryan Lockridge, owner, for approval of the replat of Lockridge subdivision, creating 2 residential lots on 1.443 acres of land located at the east corner of County Road 252 and County Road 253, which is the general location. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Staff have a presentation on this one?
Yes, sir. Vince Husted, city staff. This property is located, as stated, at the east corner of County Road 252 and County Road 253. This particular property is interesting in that it lies within the city of Pearland's EGJ, and it also lies within the 100-foot strip of it is within city limits, and then a portion of the property is outside of the county, outside of Brazoria County. And here is a satellite photo of the property. In this case, staff is recommending approval of this particular request. And that concludes my presentation.
Can you go back to the photo?
Sure.
The photo's not in the package either. So if you flip back to the, take one slide back, the site plan.
Let's see. Here's the plat. And this will result in the creation of 2 lots, and this plat also shows that 100-foot strip of city limits that runs through the property.
And if I could ask, why is there a 100-foot strip of city limits that goes through the middle of the property?
That 100-foot strip is intended to keep other jurisdictions from annexing territory that's within our city's extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Going diagonally was a good idea, I guess. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Start from one side. Any?
I'm good.
Mary? All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. None opposed, motion passes. Item C, consideration possible action, variance from minimum lot width allowing platting of a 3 lots. This is a request of Mary Villarreal, Interfield Group, applicant on behalf of Jose R. Mahia, owner, for the approval of a variance from section 2.4.3.4B13A of the Unified Development Code, ordinance number 2000T, to allow platting of 1 lot that will be 33 feet wide and 2 lots that will be 33.3 feet wide within the Old Town mixed-use district on 0.287 acres of land. General location is the east side of Park Avenue, about 200 feet north of Walnut. You hear a motion?
I move that we approve.
A motion and a second. Staff have a presentation on this one?
For the record, Vince Husted, city staff. This property is located within the Old Town mixed-use zoning district, and this variance would allow the creation of 3 lots. The proposed lot 1 will be 33.34 feet wide, while lots 2 and 3 will be 33.33 feet wide. Staff does recommend approval. I'll read the full recommendation here. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance of 16.66 feet for proposed lot 1 and 16.67 feet for proposed lots 2 and 3 from section 2.4.3.4B13A of the Unified Development Code ordinance number 2000T to allow the platting of 3 lots in the Old Town mixed-use zoning district with the following conditions. Number 1, that the landscaping matches the site plan provided by the applicant. And number 2, that the landscaping of the proposed development be irrigated. And number 3, that the fencing of the proposed development conform to section 4.2.4.3 of the Unified Development Code regarding materials, height, and access to easements within the property. Number 4, that the applicant submit a drainage study prior to submittal of a minor plat application as permitted by section 3.2.2.2E to determine if the proposed development will be adequately served by public drainage facilities. And the 5th condition, that 50% of the exterior of the structure, including the front facade, be brick. Next, I will take us to an aerial map of the property in question. It's located on Park Avenue, north of Walnut Street, and in this photograph, There are office buildings to the north of the applicant's property. To the west, we have several houses. To the south and east, we do have some vacant parcels. East of South Galveston Avenue is the location of the post office. This is a zoning map showing the property is zoned Old Town Mixed Use. The future land use plan shows the site as Village District. This next slide shows the proposed lot layout with lots 1, 2, and 3. Basically, this is taking a 100-foot wide property and dividing it into, it would result in division of the property into 3 lots of about 1/3 of the property each. This next slide shows a basic site plan of how the proposed houses would be arranged on the property. This next slide shows the what the proposed landscaping would look like with some shrubs near the sidewalk along Park Avenue. And then this slide shows the type of houses that are proposed for the property. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Does the applicant want to speak? If you could just give your name and address for the record.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Mary Villarreal with the Interfield Group. On behalf of Mr. Mejia and Rosewood Development, we'd like to thank staff and yourself for the review and consideration of this project today. As described, the development consists of two-story single-family residences with attached garages. The exterior veneer is going to be a little bit different than those. I do have a picture of what they do want to plan there. If I don't know, may I pass it, please? It's going to be brick. The veneer will be brick and hardy plank, and the roof will be hipped and gabled with composition shingles. We believe that these homes will maintain the high standard of single family that you have in the majority. I know we do have some commercial along the character of Park Avenue, while we believe it also will be introducing a contemporary single-family style that would attract a broader range of potential homeowners. We acknowledge that, we are requesting a variance, and the owner is willing to go a little bit more beyond as far as the shrubs, the trees, providing a larger caliber. The shrubs were wanting to get some to be a little bit more colorful, to improve the block face. And as he mentioned, we are agreeable to the conditions that staff has placed on this approval. And so we hope that all of this meets with your approval and be able to approve the project. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Start with Mary. Do you have any comments or questions?
No, I like the picture that she showed us much better than the drawing on the application. Is that the front of the property?
Yes,
I don't have anything else.
I just have a comment. When we deal with Old Town, I always find it interesting how the original plats were narrow and long. And I did not like the photo that was in the package, but the photo you passed around, that looks like a good product. It'll fit with that area. I don't have any issues as long as the city's good with drainage and y'all can get all that worked out. Looks good. Any further comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. None opposed. Motion passes. Moving on to item D, consideration and possible action, conditional use permit application number 17-00007. This is a request of Sheila Taylor, applicant on behalf of ST Shadow Creek LLC, owner representing by Tri-Win, for approval of conditional use permit CUP to allow for an auto wash self-service in the planned development PD zoning district on approximately 1.4012 acres of land. The general location is 11,213 and 11,233 Shadow Creek Parkway. Hear a motion?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Staff wish to present?
All right. We saw this come to joint public hearing in April, and then staff worked with the applicant to get some revised plans back to come back here in front of y'all for a consideration. Just as a brief, jog your memory, this is the aerial map showing where the site would be located. It's within a planned development. The future land use plan has this as retail offices and services. And, if pictures jog your memory better, this is the old site plan. Two of the considerations that we had coming out of the joint public hearing was the landscape width against that west property line and the turn configuration for the cars exiting the car wash. This is the new site plan, and as you can see, it has a direct exit coming out of the car wash. And the auto turns are based off of an excursion. That was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that they were using a large enough vehicle. This is the new landscape plan. It really kind of details and shows that they are providing an enhanced landscape for that western property line, as opposed to the previous landscape plan that has a drastically smaller area for landscape to grow. Again, new plan, old plan. This is a view looking into the property. This is a view looking east. This is a view looking south. And then this is a view looking west, where the potential exit for the car wash would be. Again, this is a CUP for an auto wash. It's about 2,900 square feet. And a CUP a CUP would be required for this use, but they're also looking to have a second use on the site, potentially a restaurant. Staff still hasn't received any comment sheets or phone calls about this. The original recommendation was for denial of the CUP based on the combination of two commercial uses on the single lot, having the potential to exacerbate the traffic concerns with the uses sharing an access passageway parallel to the Shadow Creek Parkway. While the services provided are worthwhile, the density and the location leaves little room for landscape and additional measures to help mitigate. As I've said, and then the recommended action from April was to have a 6-foot minimum planting strip. From that, we've seen the landscaping come into a better compliance. It did move the 6 feet, so now they've got about 8 feet for their landscaping. And with the updated plan, engineering has some current concerns about that exit and entrance with the shared access way. Engineering, this is from your staff report, engineering reviewed the updated site plan that the applicant has submitted. While they understand that no intersection is perfect, there are still conflict points at the southwest entrance that they are uncomfortable with. They've identified a scenario where if the applicant places the building on the west side of the subparcel and moves the driveway northward, then those adjustments would satisfy engineering. Staff recommends denial of the proposed CUP for the auto wash. And engineering is here, because I don't have PE behind my name, so I get to pass it off to them to make any further comments. Oh, and that completes staff's report.
Yeah. So,
Matthew Brown, Engineering. Again, Martin covered it pretty well. We were concerned about the southwest entrance exit area when you've got cars entering and exiting at the same time with the turning templates that the applicant provided. We still see some, a conflict that we're uncomfortable with. Correction to my note, and maybe I didn't catch that, but the building, we could foresee the building moving, if I'm thinking correctly, eastward, away from the driveway, and the entrance and exit that they're proposing, moving that up northward, and maybe cars can enter directly into the tunnel, taking some pressure off of that entrance exit. But long story short, we're just uncomfortable about the conflicts between cars entering and exiting at the same time at the entrance and exit. If you got any questions or concerns of me.
did they end up doing any kind of traffic study, real traffic study on this one?
We didn't review a traffic
required.
study for this one.
David?
When you say you're concerned about the traffic going in and out, is that reliant upon whatever business might appear on the east side of the property, or is that,
No,
even without that, it's just the car wash is enough of a concern? And
No.
it'll just be exacerbated by whatever goes on?
at the commission's request, they did use the larger vehicles in their turning templates, which is a good consideration, but our stance is that a car wash promotes cars queuing up or lining up to enter into a car wash. You've probably seen it on a weekend or so out here in Pearland. So we foresee cars possibly stacking up towards that entrance and or exit. And when you've got cars trying to exit and enter out of that same driveway, I think it's safe to say that there are going to be some instances when cars enter and exit at the same time. The templates he provided showed that conflict. So.
Have you guys talked to the applicant about moving it as your recommendation?
I spoke to the applicant. He's, we have a difference of opinion. So I'm sure he'll voice his opinion.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does the applicant wish to speak?
Ziad Kakush with Stantec, and I'm representing the applicant, the owner, Blue Wave. But to answer your question, Commissioner Troy, we didn't know about any comments. We just know about any comments here with you. We just don't know anything about them. But to the comment about, or the issue about the conflicts, there is no conflict. The exhibit that you have shows there is no conflict. I'm not sure how staff, pardon me?
You want me to point it out to you?
Please, yes, I would like to see that.
You go back to
Please.
the site plan? So, here you have a conflict. Both, vehicles can't do that, same maneuver at the same time. If you have entering and exiting the same thing, your cars are running over each other. Even though
That point where you're pointing, it's showing you how a car can come in and come out,
I understand, but you said there's no conflicts.
right?
These are conflict. What their big concern is that the road distance is big enough. Because this intersection is terrible already. So you already have cars backing up through here. So what their concern is that you're gonna have people stacked up here, backing into your intersection. That's your conflict. That's what their big concern is.
Right. For that stacking, just so that you know, we have over 20 cars stacking
No, I
in this
understand.
area.
I
Right.
understand. But that's what their concern is. But when you have auto turns overlapping, that's what their concern is.
The auto turns, that's my point that I'm trying to tell you. The auto turns don't overlap.
I'm looking at them, they overlap right there, right where I pointed. We're looking at the site plan, they overlap.
What I'm showing you.
If that is a two-way driveway,
Right?
they overlap. Period. You're showing it to us. Your auto turns prove. I mean, one way,
Right.
two ways, cars are hitting each other.
Right.
The outside of your vehicles are overlapped.
All right, let's talk about that. In any parking lot, when a car pulls in and a car pulls out, whether there is conflict, right?
Usually they give enough width in between the parking spaces that you can get two-way traffic in between parked cars.
I have 24 feet. The point that I'm trying to tell you is a car, when
You
it
know,
pulls
24 feet from which point? The back of the car?
from the
Or
back,
or the end of your bay? Because your car doesn't even fit in your bay. Or this drawing.
in this one, I just didn't pull the car forward, that's all. That was the whole thing. I didn't pull the car forward. But yes, it's from the end of the bay to the back of curb, there's 24 feet. Now, if a car is coming in and a car is coming out, I'm sure you're not gonna just hit it and go through, right? You're gonna wait until the car pulls out and then you pull in.
Yeah,
Right? And the exhibit that I'm trying to show you in this is there is a possibility for a car to come in and be able to turn and come out. That's what this exhibit is. Now, is it fit two cars beside each other? Yes, it will. Now, in any road, when you're gonna be turning, you're not gonna just pull in. Of course, I mean, I've seen that happen, you know, but.
Yeah, but the conflict points where and it might be just because of how you did the auto turns. But your conflict points are in the straightaways, not in the turning movements. But it still doesn't, what we're talking about doesn't affect your throat distance and the getting more room away from that already congested intersection.
Okay, just based on that, I'd say comment or logic, any business, anything that goes in there, we're gonna have that problem. What business can go in there that you're not gonna have that problem? Unless you're gonna have it as a park, and even as a park, you're gonna have to park somewhere. You're gonna have that problem.
You can put the driveways on the,
I can throw in a comment from my perspective of this, and I'm certainly not a traffic engineer, and I didn't stay at Holiday Inn last night. But I did drive by this piece of property and looked at it in detail with the Sonic and the daycare that's next door. The conflicts you're having are because we're trying to put one business on half of the property, where I personally believe if you put this car wash in the middle of that one piece of property you have, we wouldn't even be having this discussion and you'd be building a car wash. Okay? What this is gonna cause is a separate issue when the second business, unknown at this time, comes in. Whatever we do to this property and allow, it's gonna affect the other piece of property. And I'll tell you, I'm opposed to two businesses being on this piece of property. Just the traffic I saw in not even a high traffic part of the day, there were a lot of cars circulating in this little strip right here. And my experience with these car washes, there's people coming and going out of them. Because you get out of the wash and you get in your car, or you're vacuuming your car before you go through the wash. There's maneuvers that are going to happen here that I don't even think you have shown on this traffic study, and I'm not in any way a traffic engineer. I've just been to a few of these things.
Have you been to a Blue Wave?
Some of the people are gonna wash their car or vacuum their car before they wash it. Some are gonna wash their car first and then vacuum it.
Correct.
And the motions I see at the ones on the east side of Pearland, there's cars coming and going out of the driveway that's marked one way. I mean, it just happens. People are doing what they want to do. My opinion is this car wash needs to be centered in the middle of that piece of property, and let's quit bickering about the turn radiuses and that and make it right, because I'm opposed to this the way it's laid out.
Okay, just on that note, if I do center it in the middle of the property, we're still gonna have that problem that staff is talking about. I'm saying, just out of argument.
You could
If we do,
you
we're
could
still
double
gonna
your
have that
vacuum,
problem.
you could double your vacuum bays and volume into here, and that's not, I just don't like this. It's my opinion, and I'm one of 7. I'm just telling you where I'm at on it. And my opinion there is based on what I've seen at the property at a low traffic time, not the morning when there's drop-offs, not the afternoon when there's pickups happening at that daycare. I'm sorry, they beat you to the corner. There's a lot of traffic going from that daycare back and forth. There's a lot of traffic going to Sonic all times of the day and night. This is putting a heavy use right in the middle of already heavy use. And I've got to look at the best use for the property, and that may be just a little bit too much.
What do you think is the best use for that property?
Well,
I'm just curious. I just want your opinion about
You're showing us on this plat, 2 businesses.
that. Okay.
On a piece of property I believe only one belongs on. And that's my opinion. And like I say, I'm one of 7. Go ahead.
So on this, where the cars come in and out, can the 2 cars, one can get out and one can get in?
Yes.
So, I'm familiar with the Kirby area. There's a car wash right across from Carrabba's. And I don't believe that the traffic on 2234 is more than the traffic on Kirby. And you can get the same cars in and out on Kirby, and so I disagree. I think this will work. I don't think that McCart is more busier than Kirby. And the car washes, I go to that car wash all the time, and you can get a car in and a car out. And Kirby has enormous traffic.
You should try this car wash. It'll be a lot better than yours.
Troy, I think that's what's going to go on the east side of the property.
And
Well,
let
you
me,
gotta look at.
let me just add to
Let
this.
me add one more question. There is many more businesses on Kirby that are side by side than there are on 2234. I mean, they outnumber the businesses, the Kirby businesses outnumber the businesses on 2234,
What part?
double.
What part of Kirby are you talking about? Just,
Talking about Kirby, you've been to Corrales?
no,
Well,
sorry.
on Kirby where Carrabba's is, there's a car wash right there, and the traffic is enormous all the time over there. And that traffic is nowhere near the traffic on 2234 on any day.
Let me just add to a little note about the process here. We're 7 opinions to council. Council's going to rule on this. So my opinion on the matter may not be council's, probably won't be council's. But this is my view, looking at what I've seen at the property, the way it sits today, the businesses that are on it, and the layout we've seen here. And there are some issues. Engineering wouldn't have, if there were no issues, they wouldn't have been reported. So I've said enough. Mary, sorry.
If somebody goes to a vacuum bay first, and then wants to go into the queue for the car wash, where do they turn around for that?
They'll just in the main drive and turn around. And that main drive, where that, I can point that to it, I think. Can I? They can turn right here. Or if council wants us to do that, we can have them go through the car wash first and then vacuum second, instead of vacuum and then go around. We can have that as a process. But see, where this is pointing at, they can come out and turn and go in. But if it'll make it easier, we can have them go through the car wash and then turn around and vacuum.
Another question, how close is the new school, I guess daycare, how close is that to you?
It's just outside outside the property, outside of our property. Just
So
right
it's gonna
here.
be the same issue?
Right here.
When people are picking up their kids?
Yeah, but see, they have they have the driveway on their end that they go out from, but we have a cross-access agreement. It's a
No, I'm
cross-access
not
easement.
talking about the same issue, I mean, it's gonna be crowds over there.
Oh,
picking
yeah.
up the kids,
Oh, I
too.
agree. I agree. So no matter what you put on there, no matter whether it's one business or two businesses, it's gonna be the same.
No, well, it's not gonna be the same, because you're gonna have double. You know, instead of one business or
I'm
two
talking about
business,
the
you're
issue
gonna have,
is gonna be the same. The issue is gonna be the same.
making it twice as bad.
Mary?
I don't know, it just looks like you're trying to put too much on a small lot that needs to be larger for the use.
Actually, the economics, you guys,
Pardon me?
does the economics of the project fail if the whole thing becomes a
Yes.
failure?
If I may, I'm clearly not an engineer. I don't make any claims to be, and I don't know anything about engineering. But I would recommend that the commission focus its efforts on the criteria for approval. The issues that are being presented, I think from the staff perspective, are in criterias A3 through 5. First, it's going to be the traffic on site and whether or not that creates an issue. Second, it's going to be the traffic off-site and how this traffic impacts the on-site improvements. And third, this is a conditional use permit. You're only looking at half the lot, and you have adjacency issues with the other half of the lot. At this time, we don't know what the other half of the lot would be, but it could be anything that's allowed within that zoning category. And that could be, well, there are plenty of uses that could exacerbate the traffic problems that staff is attempting to identify on this issue. There are other ways to address those issues. Of course, you do have the daycare that some of you have referenced. The question is, do you take an already heavy traffic issue? And if you're going to add this as a CUP, is there something you can do to mitigate that traffic? And I think that that's where one of the hurdles are, changing the site plan or addressing the queuing or something like that. But if you focus on the criteria of approval, 3 through 5 all address traffic on site and the impact of traffic on site for this CUP. So.
So I think we talked about this in April. Someone talked about a Chick-fil-A, that's further down by the Walgreens, or that's gonna be in that same vicinity?
I believe there's proposed Chick-fil-A use that is further west of this parcel. I may be mistaken about that.
Down by Walgreens then? Okay, all right, thanks.
How many of these car washes do you currently operate?
16 of them. Yeah, 16.
Staff have the list of conditions you put up, and I'll see them.
I don't think staff had proposed conditions because staff was opposing the CUP in its entirety because it didn't think that the site layout addresses the traffic concerns both on and off site.
correct, and the only other condition was to essentially mirror the site plan to allow entrance from the north, come in, and then exit from the south.
Lawrence, you referenced items 2 through 5 of the approval criteria.
Yes,
Where can I see that?
Martin, are those included in the staff presentation, or do I need to?
May I address one comment that staff mentioned? That they wanted an entrance to the north and an exit to the south. Entrance to the north, we cannot have that because you pay on your left side. So when you come in, you can't do that. You have to have the building oriented where it's at to be able to come in, pull in, pay, and drive through. So to have that entrance to the north and exit to the south will not work for our business. It can't. Trust me, we tried. We tried.
It doesn't appear as though those criteria were copied in the staff report, but I can address them, read those three out loud if it helps y'all make up your mind. In section 2.2.3.4, criteria for approval of a conditional use permit. When considering an application for a CUP, the Planning and Zoning and City Council shall evaluate the impact of proposed conditional use on and its compatibility with surrounding properties and residential areas to ensure the appropriateness of the use at the particular location, and consider the extent to which subparagraph 3, the proposed use is compatible with and preserves the character and integrity of the adjacent developments and neighborhoods, and includes improvements either on-site or within the public rights-of-way to mitigate development-related adverse impacts such as traffic, noise, odors, visual nuisances, drainages, or other similar adverse effects to adjacent development and neighborhoods. Subparagraph 4, the proposed use does not generate pedestrian and vehicular traffic which will be hazardous or conflict with the existing and anticipated traffic in the neighborhood. And subparagraph number 5, the proposed use incorporates roadway adjustments, traffic control devices or mechanisms, and access restrictions to traffic flow or divert traffic as may be needed to reduce or eliminate development-generated traffic on neighborhood streets. So I believe that those are the three sections of the criteria for approval that specifically address traffic. There are some other ones, but I think that those are the ones that are at issue here.
Any other questions? Comments? All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion fails 2-4. Going on to item 4, discussion items, Commissioner's Activity Report, number 1.
Before we go further with the agenda, I would just like to call to the P&Z's Commission. There was a request from a citizen to be heard. However, he didn't identify which item he wanted to speak at. This is a Planning and Zoning Commission, and speaking to the board is at the board's discretion. I believe he came in after almost the majority of the agenda, but we just wanted to call it to your attention and let the chair decide if there's something that needs to happen or not.
I'll recognize the citizen for 3 minutes.
Mr. Kirshnak, I believe he's talking about you, sir.
I believe, let's see, Max is my nickname, Logie C. Kirshnak, 3420 Shady Crest Drive in Shady Crest Subdivision, 77581 zip code. I think there might be a role for the Planning Commission to play in reviewing somehow actions that are taken by the Capital Development Group. Example, Alvin Community College was selling 4 acres, 8 buildings that used to belong to Pearland ISD a year ago. I inquired at the time that I applied for holding a garage/estate sale. The two have no relationship to each other. It was just a happenstance. I called the realtor about the 4 acres, $1 million, 8 buildings, a steal. What would you plan to do if we already have 2 bidders? We're in closing. What were you planning? And I said several different ideas, one of which was an alternative school for the students that the high schools in Pearland don't want in their schools. Sorry, that came up as first idea, and the city vetoed it. Oh, the city can dictate to Alvin Community College who they sell to? Yes, the Capital Development Group wants a business park. So a flipper bought the property. It's up for sale again for $2.1 million. That's good for the residents of Pearland? I don't think so. What happened to the business park concept? How does the city dictate? There should be something checking on what the city is doing with property. And I don't know if it's the Planning Commission, but something needs to stop the hanky-panky. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
And if any of you are interested in hearing other details, I have a calling card to pass out. Take any calls.
Thank you, sir.
Before you vote, if you have to vote.
Okay. Moving on to item 1, discussion items. Item 1, Commissioners' activity reports. Anyone? Item 2, our next regular P&Z meeting is June 19th, 2017. Does anybody know they will not be in attendance? And the meeting location changed starting in July and through September 17. So all the meetings for July will be at Cullen, including City Council, I'm assuming. No other items on the agenda. We will adjourn at 7:25.